Guys, let's go ahead and get ready. We're going to be doing, like I said, groups of 2 exercises in AV format, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. Our first group is going to be a jackknife crunch and a side hip raise on the left side only. We'll be doing the right side for the next group. Let me get my timer started. We'll be starting up here in just a second. Starting off again, like I said, with that jackknife crunch. So laying flat on your back, full extension on those arms and legs. Crunch or contract those abs, bring those arms and legs up. Approach up towards those toes, back down nice and slow, right back up again. We're only going to do this for 20 seconds, so try to make sure you're keeping everything really nice and solid. Nice straight legs. Don't let those hands or feet touch the ground. And let that one relax. Off to your left side for that side hip raise. Stack those feet, hand up on your hip, and bring those hips up nice and high, down, barely hover, don't completely touch. Right back up again. If you find you can't keep your balance, you start tipping too far forward or back, you can always stagger those feet one in front of the other. Just keep that motion going. Nice tight squeeze. Tucking that shoulder underneath you. And then switch it back. Another one of those jackknife crunches. So flat on your back. Arms and legs out. And start up. Contract those abs. Crunch up towards those toes. Slowly back down, right back up again. Nice tight squeeze every single time. Don't let those abs release. Try to keep that lower back flat against that mat. And back over again on that side, on that left side again. That side hip raise. Stack those feet, hands up on top of that hip. And start up, lift those hips. Pull that shoulder underneath, right back down. Try to keep those shoulders and those hips perpendicular to the ground. Squeeze that hip up as high as you can. Really using that oblique on that bottom side to pull yourself up. And let that one relax. Moving on to our next group, which is going to be flutter kicks. And then that side hip raise on the opposite side. So flutter kicks are almost the same exact position for that jackknife, hands down. Feet barely off the ground, kicking them back and forth for the harder version. To make it easier, just lift those legs higher up in the air. But try to keep them nice and low, barely hovering off the ground, as low down as you can, as low as you can control. If those knees start bending or that back starts coming up, you're down too low. Let that relax. Switch it over to the other side. Same side hip raise, but on that opposite side. So up on that hip, pull those hips up off the ground, pull that shoulder underneath you. Again, hips and shoulders perpendicular to the ground. Try to let yourself lean forward or lean back. And let it relax. Since I'm facing this way already, might as well go ahead and do that on this side. So hands down to help you keep your balance. Contract those abs, get those feet up, and start them going. Nice quick motion. Keep that leg perfectly straight, abs contracted, lower back plastered against that mat. Keep those lungs open. Let it relax. Back over onto your side. Last round, the side hip raise. Stack those feet. And up the top of that hip, start up. This is our last round of this exercise, of this group as well. So we'll be switching off to a new group after this one. First exercise being a crisscross crunch. And let it relax. Back onto your back. One leg out, the other leg, knee above that hip joint, hands behind your head. Contract those abs, crunch up to that knee, don't bring that knee in, and switch over, crunch up to that knee, switch back. For the harder version, don't let that knee come in past that hip joint. If you start getting too tired, you can start letting it drift in a little bit, but try to keep it out for as long as you can. And let it relax. The next exercise is going to be a windshield wiper, so we're going to move that mat really quick. Now flat on your back, arms up nice and wide, legs up. Rotate those that relax. Russian twist next. Sit up on that tailbone. Back nice and flat, hands out in front of your chest. Lean back as far as is comfortable. Rotate left to right. The more you lean back, the harder it's going to be, but only go back as far as you can control, keeping that back flat. And let it relax. Back down onto your back. Got the reverse crunch again. Hands down, feet up. Lift those hips. Keep those lungs open. Like I said, try to swing those legs if you can. Let it relax, back up. Got another round of that Russian twist, and we get a little bit of a break. So nice flat back, hands in front of your chest. Lean back as far as you can control. Rotate left to right. Keep those lungs open. And let it relax. Alright, you get a little extra water break here. If you need a little extra rest, hit pause. Otherwise, we'll be starting back in just a second. Alright, let's go ahead and get started with that second half of this routine. Our next group is going to be starting off with a Spider-Man plank. So you're going to be actually on elbows and toes, or elbows and knees for this one, and a toe touch crunch. So let me get my timer started here. So Spider-Man plank. You're starting off, like I said, on elbows and toes, like a half push-up position. Hold it, and that knee comes up and out to the side. And same thing on the other side. Just alternate back and forth. Just keeping those hips nice and low, and trying not to open them up out to the side. So you want all that motion coming from that hip socket rather than rotating those hips. And relax. Switch over onto your tailbone, hands on the ground behind you for the slightly easier version of this. Contract that back, make sure it's nice and flat. Extend out, crunch forward as you tuck those knees in, and back out. For the harder version, pick those arms up off the ground, crunch, and extend. Remember, try to get that back flat as you extend those legs out. All right, back again.